Rap is out of control.
So for those that might not know, Brian Coleman, he put out the Rakim Told Me book, which was our first look into someone documenting the liner notes in the book form of classic albums. And if that wasn't good enough, he then gave us Check the Technique Volume 1, which was a much more in-depth book with more chapters and more records. And then here we are several years later, and we have Check the Technique Volume 2. Ladies and gentlemen,
I did not learn my lesson with the previous.
That's what I'm saying.
But yeah, no, it's out now, and it's been another amazing journey to kind of create all these, kind of go back with the artists and get the backstories behind all these classic albums. Two of the ones from the gentlemen in this room, Smith & Wesson, To Shinin', and Company Flow, Fun Crusher Plus.
Yep.
And both of those are just huge honors for me to talk to these guys. And second time the Beatminerz have been generous with their time. The last time I did Black Moon Enter the Stage. Right. And there's 25 chapters in the new one, ranging from an album that actually never came out, Wild Style Breakbeats from 1981 when it was recorded. And I think the Coup Steal This Album is the most recent one from about... I think early 99 is technically when it actually came out. So.
Right. Because for those that actually know what we're talking about, physical albums, in the form of LPs or even cassettes or CDs, when they came out, you always picked up not only just to listen to the music, but you always looked at the credits and you wanted to know what was going on, where they recorded it, who they were down with.
Yo, I missed that so much.
Yeah, man. And then if you were lucky, you had liner notes. You had the artist's detailed information about what they were thinking about when they made the actual album. And so, Brian, what made you decide to actually even undertake this whole journey with the first book of Rakim Told Me?
I mean, I think it's pretty basic. It's basically like, this is shit I wanted to know.
Right.
And as a fan from going back to the early 80s of hip hop, there were albums I loved, and I kind of knew little bits of information about certain groups and certain albums, but it was just kind of never enough. And there'd be an article here and there and things that would kind of just pass and kind of you lost the magazine, you didn't have it. So I thought it'd be kind of cool to put everything in one place. And it's not like every album is the absolute complete story of it, but it's as much as I felt, at least, to kind of put a stake in the ground and really, like, Big Daddy Kane, like, what was his early history like, and how did he come about? And it's interesting because it really goes back to, like, say, Mantronics, and then the groups that came after Mantronics, and all of the subsequent eras of hip hop. They were all influenced by the people who came before them, and so the question is, what did they do with that? What did they do with that energy and that influence? You know? So Company Flow, when they first came out, to me, it had that same energy as, like, the first BDP album and Ultramagnetic. It was very different. It was a different kind of format and approach. But I think it's all about kind of what you do with your influence. Like, you can either bite, you can either copy directly, or you can kind of take it to another level. And that's what really what hip hop is, and the guys in this room is kind of taking what came before them and just pushing it forward and building a new branch onto that tree.
Brian, what are some of your favorite stories from any of the three books?
Oh, wow, that's
don't say Black Moon, because they're here. Don't do that. Don't say Company Flow.
I would have to say, one of my favorite chapters that was in the first book, Rakim Told Me, that's also a kind of a bonus chapter in the ebook to the new one, is Ultramagnetic, Critical Beatdown, and just talking to those guys about what they went through, and the kind of links between Ultramagnetic and BDP back then, and just going out to Studio 1212, like way the hell out in Queens, and kind of lugging equipment on the subway, and they did it. It was a perfect example of just kind of doing it because they loved it and because they just wanted. It wasn't like they had big budgets, and it's not like they lit the world on fire with sales. But it wasn't about that. It was about how many people they influenced, and that record. Like, if that hadn't happened, like, God knows what would have happened to hip hop. It would have definitely been different. You know? And so things like that are always hugely important to me, and kind of what happened and then what came after it. And that's really what the books are in a lot of ways, is kind of piecing together the difference, and it's not directly talking about that, but I think the readers can pick that up pretty easily and kind of who was influenced by whom and kind of how that went.
And then along with you just mentioned that there's an ebook. So what else comes with the bonuses in the ebook?
So the bonus, there's 5 bonus chapters beyond the full book,
right?
And also all the images in the ebook are in color, which is different than the print book. Is Ultramagnetic Critical Beatdown, the DOC, No One Can Do It Better, Dana Dane with Fame, Jungle Brothers, Straight Out the Jungle, and Special Ed. Youngest in Charge. So those are ones that were from Rakim Told Me that never made it into the last one,
right?
Because that one was actually too long, and they made me cut a bunch of stuff out, which is probably for the best. But since I was the publisher and editor of this one, I didn't leave anything out.
Nothing on the cutting room
floor.
Definitely
unabridged.
Right.
Dr. Octagon and CoFlow especially were really important to me because that's when when those records first came out was when I had started actually writing as a journalist.
Okay.
And so I still remember, I remember hearing Public Enemy when it first came out as a fan.
Right.
But I remember CoFlow first hearing them when I was writing and just being like, and hearing a whole bunch of shit, and a lot of it was not good, and just kind of getting slapped in the face and being just like, oh my God, this is like some revolutionary shit. Like they're really shaking the tree and trying to do something new, and that was like really exciting to me. Same with the Arson is like that.
Oh, don't say it now, man.
No, I said it back then. I was reviewing you guys too. So
thank you.
And reviewing for where? What publications?
At that point, CMJ. I was doing the hip hop column in CMJ, and for monthly and the weekly. So it was very cool for me to kind of go back and revisit those records because I was, an adult. I wasn't kind of a teenager when those first came out, and I still remember what it was like. I mean, I got the Dr. Octagon advanced cassette and with a note that just said, let me know what you think of Octagon, Dan. And there was like no context to it.
Right.
And it was from the Automator, and I don't even know how he got my address, and just like, wait, this is like Cool Keith.
Right.
No, I can't be Cool Keith. This is Dr. What the hell's Dr. And just kind of being totally bugged out by the whole thing, and kind of then peeling apart like what it was all about and everything. So those ones that it was important for me to kind of revisit them because those were important as I started my journalistic career back then, to kind of revisit them with guys. It was kind of a family reunion, to kind of be like, I remember what it was like, and you guys remember what it was like to make this stuff. Whereas with Public Enemy and Chuck D, I can't be like, oh yeah, remember when I talked to you and I reviewed that stuff back then, because I didn't,
Right.
So that meant a lot to me, and groups too that like the Coup, even Black Star, who a lot of people still revere, obviously, but no one really knew the full story about kind of what went into making that record. Which I thought was a really fascinating one too. So.
Sure, and then obviously CoFlow being one of the premier indie groups that came out in the mid '90s, along with Arsonists and Juggernauts and Natural Elements and Nonfiction and all that. Len, some stories or memories from the whole beginning of that era and movement.
Nonfiction, Arsonists, Juggernauts, the Executioners, or
that was our
we call them the
X-Men.
X-Men. That's who we were around. Yeah. So when, to me, I still look at the book and I'm like, wow, Cool Keith, shit's fucking awesome.
But I think that was kind of the crew that you guys had. You guys were over at D&D, and then that was like its own thing, and you guys had this incredible universe of just incredibly talented guys, and you guys had your own universe at Ozone and kind of with Stretch and Bob, and they all kind of intersected a little bit too, but it was the same energy, and really what it was creative energy. And everybody wanted to be iller than everybody else, but it wasn't like, fuck you.
No.
It was just like everyone was glad when someone else did something ill because it made them want to work and do something ill themselves.
Yeah. And everybody was different. Everybody was different.
Totally.
Yeah.
Check the Technique Volume 2.
Yep.
Where do they go to find it?
It is in, I can honestly say, and I'm proud to say, it is in fine record stores and bookstores everywhere,
Nice.
or it will be soon. I have a good distribution through 2 different distributors, Ginkgo Press and Traffic Entertainment. You can also order it. If you go to my website, you can get different ordering links, especially if it has stuff for if you're in continental Europe or the UK, stuff that, because shipping can get kind of crazy.
Sure.
Shipping from over here. So it's Wax Facts, FACTS press.com, or you could probably just search Check the Technique Volume 2 and you'll find it.